everyone. Welcome to Raleigh City Council work session on downtown. I am going to ask Bill King from the Downtown Raleigh Alliance to kick things off. Bill, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you all so much. I really appreciate you having me. Please bear with me for a moment while I bring up my slides. Okay, hopefully my slides are showing. Can I get a thumbs up from people on camera there? Slides are showing. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to walk you through a little bit on the current metrics and status downtown, some of the challenges we've seen, some of our strategic initiatives. I'll walk through our public realm study, which is ongoing, and then provide some context for some near-term opportunities we see to continue to help downtown. So when I look at the current status, we'll walk through sales trends, pedestrian traffic, storefront openings, and closings. So let's start with food and beverage sales. So these are the sales at restaurants and bars in downtown. So the good news is we're seeing a significant increase from where we were a year ago, which is a good thing. Of course, a year ago, we had lockdown for a while, and then we were certainly under a much different circumstance. Now we're seeing vaccinations pick up. Things are feeling better. So we're seeing sales increase, which is a good thing in downtown. So overall, we're seeing a positive trend upward in sales from a year ago. I'll give a little bit more context to this on a monthly basis. So this is a little bit bumpy to see, but you can see that sales January, February, and March are above where they were in November and December. So we are seeing sales trend up. You can also see on this slide, 56% of our sales in March of this year were of the March 2019 sales. So it's a little bit of an imperfect comparison. If we compared it to March 2020, obviously we'd have the pandemic already in there. So we compared it to 2019 to get a sense of where are we relative to a more normal period. So we're at about 56% of our normal sales. But the good news is we have seen a 32% increase in sales from February to March of this year. So that's a good thing. And overall, again, a positive trend. But I do want to break down a little bit of some of the nuances of this data. So the recovery is uneven across downtown. So this is a map of our downtown districts. The percentages represent the percentage of sales in March of this year versus pre-pandemic sales. So you can see Glenwood South is at 89% of its pre-pandemic sales. The Warehouse District is at 67%. Meanwhile, Fayetteville Street District and Moore Square are at lower percentages. So that tells you the west side is recovering at a little bit faster pace than the east side of downtown. Also shows you the reflection of being dependent on office workers, business travel, and conventions on the east side and core of downtown. So you can see there is a bit of a difference in how we're recovering in downtown. I also want to point out here, you can see this in how the districts break down. To the left is a pie chart of how the district sales were in January of 2020. So you can see Glenwood South was at 32%. Fayetteville Street represented 25% of all sales downtown. You can see on the chart on the right how it has shifted again westward. So part of our focus, and you'll see this a little bit in the work I walk you through, is we're focused on all of downtown. All of it needs help, but certainly there's been some additional interventions that we've needed to do for the core of downtown and east side of downtown as it's been hit harder over the past year. I'm going to walk you through pedestrian traffic. Overall, good trends here. So April of this year was at 57% of our normal pedestrian traffic relative to April of 2019. We have seen a 154% increase from a year ago, though. Again, we were in lockdown a year ago, and a 12% increase since March. So a 12% increase month over month is pretty good. So we are overall seeing some good trends in pedestrian traffic. This shows you some of our pedestrian counters across downtown, and you can see how they trend from last summer. So you can see this spring is at a higher level than last fall, which was our previous peak during the pandemic. Weather is an enormously important part of foot traffic in downtown. When we have good weather, we have good foot traffic. Obviously, a lot of people are still most comfortable outdoors, and so that reflects that in the data. I do want to break it down a little bit more. You're probably wondering, what are these spikes? Those spikes are weekends, specifically Saturdays. And so what we find is Saturdays in downtown are very popular. If you walk around downtown on a Saturday, you will see a lot of people out and about. Sundays have started to get more popular as well, so you can see those widening a bit, and you're seeing more and more traffic on Sundays. So some of our work in terms of activations and other interventions is trying to stretch foot traffic into the rest of the week. So what can we do on Thursdays? What can we do on Wednesdays? Things like that to try to flesh out downtown's foot traffic, because we're doing well on weekends, still quieter on weekdays. I'll walk through storefront business openings and closings. So the closings are the dark bars downward, openings are green. So obviously you can see we were hardest hit with closings May, June, July of last year. And then again, we had some closings during the winter. And then you can see openings have trended back up. So overall, since the start of the pandemic, we're now back to +1 overall on openings, but certainly we lost a number of businesses and have had a challenging year in that regard. But we are starting to see some positive momentum. If you look at February through May here, you're seeing more openings, particularly March through May. And we had 5 new storefront business openings last week. So we're seeing this start to turn around as a trend, which is a good thing. So 15 new storefront businesses have opened since mid-February, plus 2 expansions. And we're now up to more openings and closures this year. 22 existing businesses have reopened since February 1st. So you think of the CBS on Fayetteville Street, Flying Mayan on Fayetteville Street, Oak City Meatball on Davie Street, and obviously many others. In our pipeline, we have 18 more storefront businesses coming soon. So that's good. That's a healthy pipeline. One of our exciting recent announcements was Union Special. It's a bakery just north of downtown. They'll be doing their second location on Fayetteville Street. Excited about that. We're excited about all these new businesses as well. We've also had a couple of pop-ups in downtown. We helped bring in for the holidays. They've extended their leases. So they've had good enough experiences to extend their lease. So that's a good thing. That's a sign of positive momentum in downtown. Some other stats, employees in downtown offices, we estimate are between 25 to 30%. We sort of eyeball that off of parking data, as well as talking to building managers. We are seeing it trend upward. We were in the teens back in January, so that is an increase over the past couple of months in a good way. And we're seeing a weekly increase in workers returning to downtown. Hotel occupancy is improving, but it's still split. Weekends are higher than weekday. We have seen a considerable growth in the past month. We've had things such as volleyball tournaments. The College Cup soccer tournament is here. So we've seen some good things that have helped improve our hotel occupancy. I mentioned pedestrian traffic. Storefront leasing is increasing, which is a good thing. Our residential occupancy is actually still very high. It's at over 95%. We've been pleasantly pleased with that, which is a great thing. And then our plywood boards, 96% of them are down. So I do think there's a perception that downtown is largely boarded up. That is largely not true. 96% of the boards are down. We are in contact with the remaining buildings. There's a variety of reasons there, but we are excited that we've gotten a lot of those boards down. So obviously there's been recent challenges for downtown, a lot of which are obvious, a lot of which were reflected from, challenges from the pandemic, lower levels of employees and foot traffic. We've had an increase in vacancies and closures that you saw in that graph, although that's improving. Our perception of safety has been altered. Fayetteville Street has been struggling. It had some struggles before the pandemic. Those were continued. Obviously, plywood boards were a challenge for us aesthetically. We had fewer beds and spaces and shelters to help those in need. So during the teeth of the pandemic, that was a challenge as well. And we've just had various businesses and organizations and venues struggling. So those are certainly some of the challenges. But we've also had a lot of opportunities. So we have 93% of our stores are locally owned. Vast majority of our restaurants are as well. We have museums, we have institutions. We're a cultural hub. We're the major outdoor gathering space of the region. And we have an opportunity to do new things. We don't have to come back the way we were before. So we have an opportunity to reimagine our public realm, reimagine what kind of downtown we want to be. We sense a pent-up demand to be with others. And we have new entrepreneurship and diversity opportunities, as well as a recent uptick in economic indicators, as you can see. So there's also opportunities here. So as an organization, we looked at those challenges and those opportunities and tried to align those to some strategic goals. So we came up with 4 strategic goals. These are governing our work right now through this part of 2021. We keep looking at our work and reevaluating to make sure that we're staying current. But I'll walk you through each of these goals. They touch on our storefront economy. They touch on how to rethink our public realm. They touch on how to engage and get people back downtown, and obviously on safety and security. So our first goal is very simple: improve downtown economy through recruitment, pop-ups, financial support, marketing, and promotions. And so this is where we're doing everything to get people back in those storefronts. We've provided direct support to our businesses. We have several marketing campaigns coming up and that we've already done. I'm also going to walk you through a little bit on our return to work office dialogue. as well as some online resources we've built. So you all may be familiar, a few months ago, we did the Duke Energy Storefront Revitalization Grant. This was a tremendous program from a downtown tenant in Duke Energy. They provided $250,000 for this. We added an additional $125,000 of privately raised funds. We were able to give out 97 grants to locally owned downtown businesses, funded outdoor dining expansions, new online websites, takeout windows. This was really getting people through the pandemic. So what were those things that would help them stay afloat? So that was the idea behind the grant. Tremendously successful. We're really proud of this. One grant we have now going is our pop-up grant. And so what we found is, all right, let's fill these vacancies and create new opportunities for entrepreneurship. So we started a pop-up grant program to incentivize additional pop-ups through the middle of this year. We've had over 40 applicants already, so there's a lot of energy and interest and excitement in this. We were able to recruit and connect Black Friday Market, and they were the winner of our first pop-up grant, which was really exciting. We also were able to recruit and connect Triangle Pop-Up, which is right there on Hargett Street as well, a lot of local makers. They've extended their lease. We have 2 other pop-ups that are signing leases as well. So we're really excited about this program. It's a way to fill vacancies, create new opportunities for entrepreneurship in downtown. Marketing campaigns. So we've done some recent campaigns and we have some upcoming ones. Our objective here is very straightforward, is to provide promotional support to encourage visitation and patronizing businesses. So our recent campaigns were Restaurant Week. We did Shop the Season during the holiday season for our stores. We did the Downtown Raleigh Loyal Lunch campaign. So you can see those are hitting different constituencies of storefront businesses. We did utilize those additional city resources that you all provided. We received those in April. So we were able to use those for some of these promotions, along with helping fund part of our Dine Out Downtown activation, which I'll touch on in a minute. We will be providing a report on the impact and those activities in marketing later this year to city staff and council for those additional resources. I also want to note that in addition to those campaigns we just did, we have some major campaigns launching later this spring. We have a storefront campaign that's going to reward frequent shoppers and customers through contests and prizes. So we're going to try to put some big muscle into, giving some really cool contests, doing some fun prizes to get people to frequent their storefront businesses. We're also going to do a larger destination campaign for downtown. It's really aimed at people outside of downtown to encourage them to reconnect with downtown Raleigh. And so what we find is a lot of people's perceptions of downtown are framed by what they've read in local media or seen in local media, but they might not have necessarily been downtown in a long time. They haven't been back in the office in a long time or to a museum. So we need to be able to make sure we appeal to them as well and connect them with downtown Raleigh. So that will be coming out later this spring. So both of these are coming later this spring and will run throughout the summer. We're using print, radio, and digital advertising for that as well. We have been engaged in a return to work dialogue. So really what we're trying to do is get information from employers on when they're coming back, their biggest concerns and issues. So we can address those and also share that info with businesses. So we've reached out to over 50 downtown employers and we've gotten some interesting information. The return dates really range throughout the next few months. So we've had some businesses return just recently at the beginning of May. Others are going through the end of September. The industries kind of vary, with tech sort of operating in a different frame than maybe banking or government. A lot of the employers are offering hybrid approaches, such as working 3 days in the office, 2 days out. Nearly all of them are retaining flexibility to work from home, full or part-time. Some are splitting their workforce into teams. Others allow just any to come. I want to note that we're doing an annual survey right now that has already over 650 responses. That survey is still open, but I'm going to show you a preliminary result from that, understanding that it is a preliminary result, so it could still change. But we did ask, how many days do you work or expect to work in your physical office in a given week if you're a downtown employee? So on the left side of this chart, it shows currently a situation. So you can see 42% of these respondents currently still work from home completely. Others have started to integrate in multiple days a week. But watch how the chart changes as we get towards summer. So we start to see a big shift away from work from home. So that goes from 42% to 14%. And you start to see people working 2 to 3 days, some working 5. And then if you look towards the fall, it increases. And so you see more people working in the 3 to 5 day range. So we do expect to see employees come back. As you can see, though, it's going to take a few more weeks and months. So that does change a little bit of how we approach things. It's also something for you all to keep in mind as we keep downtown going while employees slowly trickle back. Another thing I'll note is we asked, if your office is closed, when do you anticipate the majority of office personnel coming back into the physical office? You can see the number one response was within the next 3 months. And then we have some who say the majority is already back, others who say it'll be back within the next 6 months. So this is overall good news. This means that we have a lot of people who are planning to come back. We did not have very many who said they don't think their employer is ever going to come back or it's going to take them much longer. So that's a good thing. We do think people will come back, but it's going to be over the course of the next few months at a steady pace. In terms of return to work, some of the biggest concerns or issues we heard, our employees want to know when restaurants are open, which ones are open. They want to make sure they have restaurant options. They love going out to work, or excuse me, going out to eat. They want to know where open businesses are near their offices and how to easily find them. They've also expressed interest in sort of more activations to make it fun downtown. Think of lunchtime music or, pre-work yoga, after-work shows, things like that. So we've been doing a lot of dialogue on that I'll talk more about in a minute. And some have expressed the need for parking flexibility. This was something that your city parking staff mentioned last week at council, which is that you're hearing more and more about if we're working, some days from home, some days in the office, and you have multiple employees, is there an opportunity to adjust the parking system to that? That's a little bit easier said than done. So I know that takes time, but we really appreciate the parking staff has been thinking about ways to do that as they're able to update technology over time. So that's something we've heard as well. For us at DRA, some of the opportunities in terms of encouraging return to work, we are going to hold a virtual event on how employers are returning. Part of what we find is there's a major information asymmetry where a lot of people don't know what anyone else is doing. So there's just a lot of tentative steps because people aren't sure how anyone else is coming back. Are they splitting up? Are they doing hybrid? Are they putting a cap? Are they not? So I think information sharing is really important. We also encourage our partners to continue to do that. Pushing information on open restaurants and stores to make it easier to find them. Encouraging lunchtime and daytime activations. So we're teasing that out in our public realm study, which I'll cover in a minute. Orientations and guides to downtown. So we used to do in-person orientations for downtown employers. We'd like to bring those back either in virtual or in person and put together a guide that makes it easy for employees to find things in downtown. And then continue to encourage that flexibility in our parking system as commutes change over time. That second goal we have, this is an interesting one. This is really reframing how we look at downtown. We don't need to come back exactly the way we were before. We've done a lot of cool things over the past year. There's been a lot of innovations. We've learned a lot as a community. So let's take those lessons and let's find ways to incorporate them as we come back for downtown. One of those is our public realm study. So our objective here is to help bring more people downtown by understanding how we use our public realm to re-engage and re-energize downtown. This has two objectives. The first one is really tackling what should the future of all these expanded outdoor dining zones and curbside takeout zones and parklets be. So they've been a cool innovation. A lot of it was done really fast. We are deeply appreciative of our city staff for how fast they did these. It was incredibly good work and just been a lifesaver for our businesses. What do we do moving forward? We've heard a tremendous amount of support for these. And our survey results, we're seeing a lot of support for keeping these in some form or fashion. How do we integrate these in a more permanent way? There's a lot that goes into that. So we're thinking about that. We're having a lot of conversations about that. The second part is around activations and events. How do we use our public spaces to benefit downtown and attract a broad array of stakeholders? What are those new activations that would bring people downtown safely? So this is the timeline for the study. It is a very fast moving one. We're in the middle of this here in May. We're in the portion of listening sessions and Innovate Raleigh. Our hope is to be able to bring you guys the results to this in the middle of June. So we're trying to move as quickly as possible. We've done an enormous amount of work in community engagement. We have either done or are doing 20 listening sessions that include residents and businesses, employees, city staff, our arts and cultural orgs, event producers, hoteliers, higher ed institutions. We've partnered with Innovate Raleigh to do 6 public listening sessions over 3 days this week. So you can still sign up for those. If you'd rather, we have our annual survey open, covers a lot of topics, but includes questions on this. We do have a public meeting where we'll talk through sort of preliminary results from this study on May 25th and also continue to get feedback, refine that. And then our hope is to bring that to you all later in the month in June. And we're also doing outreach to less digitally connected communities. So we have, for example, affordable senior communities in downtown, they're not as digitally connected. We need to make sure that they get to participate because there's a great opportunity there to connect with them as a community. So we're doing some additional outreach as well to make sure we're not just favoring those who are digitally connected. Another opportunity here is that we want to make sure downtown is more diverse, right? And so downtown is diverse in a lot of ways, but we want to make sure it's diverse in all the ways it can be. So here at DRA, we've added a minority and women-owned boost to our grant program. So if you're a minority or women-owned business owner, you apply for the pop-up grant or you apply for our upfit grant, you have the opportunity for a boost there where you can get some additional funds. We want to make sure that we're incentivizing downtown being a diverse community. We've also worked with Wake Tech on an incubator space for entrepreneurs of color. We started that in 2019 on Martin Street. We'd love to restart that program. We've had conversations there, and we're looking to expand that idea. Other spaces in downtown where we can have entrepreneurship opportunities for diverse entrepreneurs is really, really important to creating a downtown for everybody. Goal number 3 is really straightforward. Make downtown an engaging place to live, work, visit, through safe activations that appeal to a wide variety of stakeholders. We know we got to get people down here, so we're trying to create this as an engaging place. Dine Out Downtown has been one of the great successes of this. We started it in the fall. It was so successful, we brought it back starting at the beginning of April. It runs every Saturday night. We close streets for outdoor dining expansion. We move it around the district so that we're able to share the love, but we focus it in Fayetteville Street because as you saw from the stats, Fayetteville Street is the hardest hit district in downtown. So we do it there more frequently. We have local musicians who are able to pay as well. This is weekly through June. It's a tremendous activation that we're really proud of. We're also really thankful to the city for allowing us to do this. Moore Square Market. We attract people downtown, provide a fresh food option for a diverse population. We moved this to Sunday mornings. We started it 2 weeks ago. We wanted to create a better return on the impact investment for nearby businesses. Residents also told us that's what they prefer. We've seen a significant attendance increase. It's still safe. We have a lot of people keeping distance, wearing masks, and we also accept EBT benefits. We do that intentionally to make sure that everyone is welcome at the market. So it's something we do as well. And that's been a great activation and a great partnership with the City Parks Department. Finally, we've also done downtown Raleigh routes. These are walking routes and tours we've done. We're giving out prizes to incentivize people to come and walk around downtown. The idea here is feet on the street. So you get more feet on the street, you increase your sense of safety, and you get people refamiliarized with downtown. So that's been the point of this. So we've been giving out prizes. We have trophies we're going to be awarding for the most frequent user of the routes and also for the fastest. We're using this route idea, and we will be partnering with several organizations on a Black History Tour also in June, again, to get people circulating through downtown, but also to celebrate downtown's Black history, which is really significant. So this is the whole idea is feet on the street. Our final goal here is really around improving our sense of safety and security in downtown through our ambassadors, social services, plywood board removal, and continuing to work with RPD. So I'll walk through this briefly. Thanks to that additional city support, we were able to hire 3 additional safety ambassadors. We did that at the end of last summer, and they've been enormously helpful. We focus them on hotspot areas of downtown. So we collect data on what's going on. Where do we get the most calls? Where do we see the most activities? And because of being able to focus on that, we saw a 40% increase in ambassadors identifying issues because they were concentrating on those hotspots. So we've been able to use a data-driven approach, use those extra resources, and be able to address things more quickly, which has been great. We have engaged in plywood board removal. I mentioned that before, working with property owners. And again, 96% of those are down. The other thing I'll touch on is we hired a social services ambassador to connect those in need on the street with shelters, food, and other assistance. So we did this at the beginning of last September. You can see her numbers. They're tremendous. Over 450 wellness checks, over 100 referrals for clothing, over 200 referrals for food assistance, over 100 referrals for medical help, shelter. She has actually found housing for people who've been chronically homeless. It is very hard to do that, but she's done a great job, and she's helped connect with guardianship for some of those experienced mental health issues. So she's been a huge benefit. Shaw University graduate. We're very proud of her, and this has been great for downtown. Some of the early trends we're seeing from that annual survey, so I showed you guys the return to work. These are some of the other early trends. Again, I want to be careful here. Survey is still open, so we're going to get a lot more detail out of this, and we'll extrapolate a lot more out of it and bring it back to you when we close the survey later this month. But some of those early trends that we're hearing from the community is wanting to increase the perception of safety and feet on the street. It's obviously top of mind. When you don't have as many people working downtown, you don't have as many conventions and travel, there weren't as many people on the street. So you saw that dip in pet traffic earlier. It's picked back up a good bit, but obviously it's still important to focus on safety in downtown to make sure people feel safe. Crime stats are actually very low in downtown, but there is still that perception that we need to make sure that we're making sure that everyone feels safe down here. Sidewalk and pedestrian improvements. So there's some comments in there around improved lighting, cleaning, which refers a lot to there's a lot of markings on our sidewalks and things from projects and fiber optics projects and stuff that, it doesn't necessarily always convey the cleanest image. Beautification, there's opportunities to add plants and lights and public art. I've mentioned Fayetteville Street, that's come through in our survey as well, the opportunity to add new businesses, new activations, new energy to our main street. Parking it comes up in every survey every year we do it. So this is an evergreen one, but always opportunities to improve the parking experience for visitors and employees, and obviously more activations. And so that really addresses some of the other issues above. So getting more people downtown, but the survey is still open. But as you can see, we're starting to pull in needs for the future, right? So these are needs from different constituencies in order to reopen downtown, to make downtown feel good. So, your employees and employers are looking for wayfinding on open businesses, activations to make it fun, parking flexibility. Residents are looking for assurance of safety and security, communication on events and issues, activations to make living downtown fun, additional amenities, improved sidewalk and pedestrian experience. Obviously, businesses and property owners, businesses have been hit hard on the storefront level, so they're looking for fundamentally more customers. What can we do to bring them more customers? They've certainly appreciated and are interested in more flexibility in those processes and programs, which cities provided a lot of. Continuing those innovations, again, safety and security, new businesses to complement them and create more of that critical mass, marketing support, parking support, and activations that are really additive, that help bring people in. I mentioned those in need on our streets, where there's opportunities and needs for shelter beds and support, access to mental health services, additional help in finding those services. So our social worker does a great job, but we have one of her. So any help there in finding services is enormously important. Then our hotels are looking for fundamentally more visitors. And so things that bring those help them as well. So those near-term opportunities, some things for you all to think about. And this is me winding down here, so almost done. So there's an opportunity to support more activations and beautification in downtown. So I'd encourage you to invite us back to show you the results of our public realm study that will guide opportunities. Again, 20 listening sessions, survey, public meeting. We're getting a lot of great data and information on what can we do to reactivate downtown. There's an opportunity to provide some more resources and infrastructure there for new activations. So that's some of what we hear. And I think, again, there's just additional aesthetic opportunities downtown. We'd strongly encourage continued flexibility for businesses. So that's outdoor dining and curbside. Again, we plan on coming back to you all with results from that study in June. So you have some ideas on that. Making it easy for businesses to activate our streets and sidewalks is really helpful. It makes people feel good. We've seen strong reaction to that. The parking program that you authorized continuation of last week has been deeply appreciated by our downtown businesses. So thank you there. Safety and support resources, I mentioned that. There's opportunities to build relationships between Raleigh police and downtown stakeholders, communication during crises, and adding that social service component to those in crisis on the streets. We've seen great benefit from it. I think there's an opportunity there to add a lot more support. Our businesses continue to need resources for their investments. So whether that's upfit grants or startup grants, or even beautification grants, those parklets and things like that are not cheap. So there's a great opportunity there. Wayfinding to help our employees find those open businesses to support them. There's a lot of space downtown that the city has, or that other users have, that we could use for entrepreneurs. It provides lower cost opportunities, allows entrepreneurs to try out downtown, and also provides for new diversity in downtown. We're able to do those things. So I'd encourage the city to look at that as well. And finally, our economic development strategy. So there's an opportunity for longer term thinking here. So you can see that, we've got these short-term initiatives, but longer term, we need an economic development strategy for downtown Raleigh. Our 2015 downtown plan was great. The economic development portion of it is largely accomplished. It was focused on retail and grocery stores. We accomplished that by 2018. So that portion of the plan could use a refresh. That's things from Fayetteville Street and retail strategy. We also need to look at our office market, how to keep it competitive, how to position it better, make sure that what do we do well and how do we talk about it. Diversity and inclusiveness. If we want to be a downtown for all, we need to make sure that we're providing those opportunities for all entrepreneurs down here. And then looking ahead to those catalytic projects, whether it's sites 2 and 3 at the end of Fayetteville Street, whether it's how we connect to Dix Park, there's opportunities for catalytic projects that can help downtown long-term. So why does this matter? Why does downtown matter? I could give you the stats. I could give you the sort of basics. We're the largest employment center in the city of Raleigh. We're the largest collection of locally owned businesses in the region. We're the center of arts and culture organizations. We're the hub for your regional transit system. We're a central gathering space for the community. But really, fundamentally, great cities and regions need great downtowns. And when you think about all those things, downtown is where we come together and express ourselves. It's the place we take our friends and family from out of town. It's the place that we celebrate. It's where we come together. And it's a place where we can come together again as it's safe to do so, and as we come out of what's been a very challenging time. So we are really excited about the future. There's a lot to work on. There are a lot of challenges in the near term, but I think there's also a lot of opportunities. So I'll show this slide again. We have a tremendous amount of near-term opportunities, but we also have ways for the public to help come downtown and support us. Our businesses still need that support. Federal programs have largely closed, things like PPP, so now it's on us to support those businesses. Participate in our public realm, study an annual survey, attend Dine Out Downtown, Moore Square Market, and all these additional activations in a safe manner, and watch out for those results of our studies in June to council and staff. So thank you all so much for the opportunity to talk and present, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Bill, if you could take down the slides, that way I can see everybody. First off, great presentation, and I just want to tell you, you and the Downtown Raleigh Alliance have done an outstanding job since the pandemic that hit. I know you put many long hours in. I just want to thank all of you for the work you've done. Does anybody have any questions of Bill? Councilmember Branch.
Bill, definitely thank you for the presentation, for the work. My questions around the social worker and the working hours that she puts in. Obviously, with downtown opening back up, there's, with more people, and time, it's going to be difficult for one person. Have you looked at options or talked to our staff about options about an additional social worker, either part or full-time?
We've not had conversation with staff. Certainly we would love to continue to add that resource. I do know that there's also the police department has the Acorns unit, I believe. And I think others could speak more to exactly their role, but I think they could potentially be complementary, but we certainly could use that support. I mean, she's done a tremendous job, and ultimately we're trying to move the needle and help people in need, right? So we're not trying to just move them around or anything, but really connect them with resources and services. So certainly it's something we would love to be able to do.
Okay, so I would be interested in hearing more information about the needs that the social worker is seeing, first of all, and then what are some of the support the social worker needs, and if there is a need for additional person, either part or full-time. I know Acorns is citywide, so there's probably some limitations there, but at the same time, I would like to have some more information.
Absolutely happy to provide that. Thank you.
Thank you for your work and what you're doing, and all the businesses as well.
A point of clarification, I believe that right now social workers are being hired. City manager, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so help me clarify something Councilor Branch just said is, I know this is a pilot program, but is it focused throughout the city or specific areas of the city? Acorns I'm talking about.
The initial unit, which is being established right now, will kind of focus in our downtown core, and we plan to replicate that model throughout the city in the upcoming years.
Okay. All right, thank you. Do we have any other questions for Bill? Councilmember Knight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yes, I did a great work, Bill and your team and the rest of all your partners downtown to do what y'all been doing. We've got a lot of work yet to go, but I think if we work together, we'll get there. In the plans to come back downtown from especially the bigger, larger businesses, companies, are y'all those companies that are members of yours, are y'all working with them on their plan, or are y'all leaving it to them to individually as a business come up with their plans? And is there anything we could do to help? I don't know if use the word incentivize, but to help in that process of them determining how they're going to come and when they're going to come back downtown?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first thing we did was have those conversations with over 50 employers and just figure out what's going on. Fundamentally, there's an information sharing challenge where, again, some of them would love to know what others are doing because they're not quite sure how to come back. And some of them have been delayed just because they're still figuring it out. So that's been a first step, is how can we share this information and say, okay, here's some models for ways to come back. A few other organizations in this space are doing that as well in economic development. So there's some good info there. Second thing we've done is ask, what are the issues? What's hanging you up? You know, are there concerns beyond obviously the most fundamental one, which is we need the pandemic to, you know, obviously go down. We need people to be vaccinated. Are there other issues? So that is where we've learned about, okay, well, our employees want to make sure, you know, they know where the open businesses are and, you know, they have options. You know, they talk about flexibility, parking. And so we've talked about that to see, okay, are there things that are hanging you up? And then fundamentally, there's a degree to which people get to choose. And so that's just going to be a reality, which is, you know, a lot of people providing flexibility. So we're going to need to do those things like, you know, some different activations to get people to choose to work downtown and choose to work anywhere, because you're going to have a choice. And so that is where we're looking at, you know, we've talked and partnered with the city on a lunchtime music series that we'll be doing in June, for example, to try that out, see if that's helpful, and a few other things like that. And that's some of what we're asking in the public realm study. We've done 3 focus groups with office employees just to figure out, you know, what are those things that would get you to choose coming back downtown.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, I would just ask city manager that when the study is completed and DRA is ready to release it, if we could bring them back for a work session to do that. And that's the public realm study. Okay. Any additional questions for Bill until we move on to residents and business owners who have signed up to speak? Councilmember Cox.
Yes, again, I just want to also say a great presentation and really appreciate the information. I would like to add that when we do additional studies, that we also include other areas of the city. I'm particularly concerned about District B. I'm concerned about the businesses along Capitol Boulevard and along Lewisburg and New Bern Avenue in my district. And I'd like to see some of the same information about you know, how businesses have been impacted this past year, what businesses are struggling. In particular, you know, when we see if there's going to be stimulus money available, how do we help those businesses as well? And I'm sure it's not just District B, but throughout the city, there are businesses that are struggling. So I think we need a more comprehensive approach, and that would be my request to the city manager.
Sure, we will.
Any additional questions? Okay, I'm going to call on the first person who has signed up to speak. Bill, are you going to hang with us just in case there's a specific question or response that requires your attention?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, thank you. I know you have that newborn at home, so I was just trying to give you an out there in case you needed it.
She's on a walk right now around downtown. She's doing all right. Thank you, though.
Okay. Feet on the street. Okay. Our first speaker is Perry Gagne, Gagne. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. And I'm asking that you just provide your name and address for the record. So Perry?
Not on the call, Mayor, and neither is your second one, Todd.
Todd, okay.
Your third one-
Jim Mitchell?
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Jim Mitchell, I live on Person Street. That's all you're getting from me. So I just, when I read the post on social media the other day, that they said you were looking for suggestions This is stuff I've been thinking about for years that I think can positively impact downtown. Permanently closing Fayetteville Street again to traffic, vehicle traffic, even if that is after 4 p.m. and all day on the weekends. Lobbying the state to allow for happy hours, get rid of that. Eliminate and create open container areas throughout Raleigh. Limit the amount of office space and increase housing density downtown. Partner with rideshare apps to have lower rates that are going to and from downtown. That's very doable. I did that for a period of time when I was working with the city of Phoenix. All the developers that have been rubber stamped basically in the last couple of years downtown to do whatever the hell they want, make them put into a fund to sponsor different events downtowns, like things that we can do that are in the vein of South by Southwest, Oddball Festival in Toronto just for laughs. It works. Create various walking districts and corridors downtown, which has been worked on, but enhance those even further. I walk downtown a lot. And you've made great strides, but there's a lot more that can be done. And that's pretty much it. That was a great presentation, Bill. Appreciate your work. And I love all the stuff you're doing with entrepreneurship and people of color and things like that. I myself come from a mixed race family, so I am aware keenly of a lot of those issues and work on them myself. So thank you, and everyone have a great evening.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Next we have Sean Harrington.
Sean is not on the call, Mayor.
Okay. Clark Reinhardt.
Clark is also not on the call.
Now that surprises me. Okay.
He was on earlier, so I'm not quite sure I'm not sure he dropped. Maybe he had some technical difficulties.
Okay. We'll go back at the end and see if anybody's come back on who dropped off. Chandra Whitaker.
Also not on the call.
Todd Henderson.
No, ma'am, not on the call. But Elizabeth Robinson is.
Okay. Elizabeth?
Yes, hi, thank you, Ms. Baldwin and council members for the opportunity. My name is Elizabeth Robinson, and I'm Senior Vice President of the North Carolina Retail Merchants Association, and also President of 209 Retail Partners at 209 Fayetteville Street. And just want to say we are committed to downtown. We actually just completed and are very pleased with our recent renovation of the front of our building, and we're looking forward to seeing downtown's vibrancy come back again. And so just wanted to highlight a couple of areas on top of the great points Bill hit on earlier from his survey and other speakers that we've heard from our team and tenants, which seem to have centered around not feeling quite as safe downtown prior to the shutdown. So we would just ask on a continued focus on safety to welcome workers and visitors back to downtown, and looking at increasing the ambassador program, which is a great program, as well as law enforcement presence. We hear particular concerns or discomfort on, being frequently approached on going to the bank or post office, and around parking decks, of how people are getting to and from their offices or frequenting businesses, and building entries, working with businesses to help address any security concerns at entrances that affect those workers coming back, that have become areas for problematic activities, for just getting those workers back to downtown, and also pedestrians feeling more comfortable being downtown. Another thing that came to our attention recently was just lighting, that Fayetteville Street seems to noticeably be darker between the Capitol and the end of Fayetteville, between the trees and some of the closed businesses and construction. And I think that in itself sometimes isn't maybe as welcoming, or creates some safety concerns or their perception of that. And I know that we hit a few bumps in the road in our renovation about concerns around light pollution, but just thinking about other areas like North Hills or City Market or Glenwood South that seem to be a little bit more well lit, that an emphasis on lighting could create a really warm, welcoming, and engaging environment for people to come downtown. So just a couple of quick points, but with that, it's really encouraging to see all the improving statistics from Bill, King, and all the good work they're doing. And just again, thank you for the opportunity to provide some feedback that we're hearing on the ground.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Next, we have Andy Ellen.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor Baldwin and councilmen and councilwomen. I'm not gonna, Elizabeth, I work with the North Carolina Retail Merchants Association as well, the president of that organization. So we're not going to take up too much of your time because Elizabeth did such an amazing job. And I think laying out some of the points that we have, I did want to say also thank you to Bill King, did an excellent job. We have 37 employees and a large number of tenants in our building on 209 Fayetteville Street. We brought 50 to 60% of our office back on Monday of this week. And the people that many of them had not been in the office for 14 months other than to stop by here and there. And as Elizabeth said, they're not worried about COVID coming back to the office. That is the least of their concern. But the concerns we heard from employees in just the few days they've been back has all centered upon safety in and around the office. And, you know, where I've got some asking to go get concealed carry permits to that extent. So that is sort of a worrisome issue of we're trying to get our people back into the office, but the hesitancy, again, is not around some of them the commute or COVID. It's around just their personal safety. And so, again, some of the points Elizabeth mentioned, a better police presence downtown. We appreciate the Raleigh Ambassador Program, which is an amazing program. But then also, again, the better lighting. If you go downtown, as Elizabeth said, on Fayetteville Street after about 8 o'clock or 8:30, it's pitch black between the Capitol and halfway down. And that part of that's due to La Stella's closed. A number of the offices are closed after hours. Across the street, you still have buildings where there's construction going on and they're plywooded. So there's no light at all on those spaces. I myself used to go run downtown frequently at night. That was always the place that was the least well lit and most in the least inviting. We recently, I think we have lost a potential tenant because of the safety issue, which we were trying to fill people back again up downtown. And, you know, that is making it tough on all the businesses, whether you're restaurants or retail, if you don't have the foot traffic. The other complaint that we're hearing, and Bill touched on this and then I'll stop, is, you know, a lot of people got used to making a sandwich at home while they were remotely working, and downtown right now it's turned into a food desert pretty much, especially for anything that's under $15 for lunch. And you know, the Chick-fil-A is gone and you have Subway, and that's about generally that, or the Pizza Dimes is about as your only option there on the Fayetteville Street area to get a reasonably priced meal. So, you know, the more, and I know Bill is working really hard on recruiting those, the better we can do on that would be very much appreciated. But thank you for having this meeting and for the input and for your leadership during this last 14 months to the entire council.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate you being here. Next, we have Carrie Hall.
Is on the call but had to take another call, so they'll be back on as soon as they can. We can circle back.
Okay,
the next person we have that's on the call is John Seelbender.
Okay, John, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks for having us. Appreciate you reaching out. Thank you guys for taking the time to focus, all of you to focus on the downtown area. You know, I can echo some sentiments of most everyone that's been on the call. You know, the downtown Raleigh area, you know, the most exciting part about it over the last decade was just the feel of what we have as a city. I mean, I've spent 20 years in hospitality in Raleigh, and spent a lot of time on Glenwood Avenue, spent some time in the warehouse district and the depot district. And, you know, when things started thriving, when folks like, you know, other of my colleagues like G. Patel and some people started opening places downtown, I believe that the culture in and around food, beverage, and nightlife was very appealing because the crowd was a little bit more elevated than some of the other places I'd been. So as we look at what's going on now, I've closed down 2 lunch spots for various reasons. I mean, there's nobody downtown to go to lunch for a long time. You know, we talked about the boards and those coming down. That was huge because it was, you know, they stayed up for so long. And again, echoing the sentiments of safety. As of right now, you know, I think a balanced day for an area of town is really important. Not only, you know, from basically 8 in the morning till especially on the weekends, 2 in the morning. There's a good balance between nightlife, eating, working, that living and live, work, play is certainly not balanced at this moment downtown. And so, from my point of view, I've got the Architect Bar that is one of 3, places that are open, on Friday and Saturday night that have any crowd whatsoever. And, what we talk about internally is, why would you come downtown? Most everybody, a large majority of the money in the crowd is obviously being spent on Glenwood, as we were seeing from Bill's presentation. So, it's a pretty easy metric for us. It's, 5 or 6 places have closed down, 6 or 7 or 8 have opened, on that in the Glenwood district. And, the places that are downtown are, dated. Most of us have been there for a while. There's a place here and there that's open within the last 3 or 4 years. But, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, constantly recruiting some of my other colleagues to come down and open a few more places. We're getting ready to open a new place at the end of this month, another speakeasy cocktail bar. And, with that being said, 3, 4, 5 more places that have a nice balance between, food, beverage, and nightlife would certainly bring some vibrancy to the city. And I think, there are some decent, some folks coming down for dinner. There's some folks coming down for some of the early evening hours, but it's vacating very quickly around the 9, 10 o'clock hour, because there's just not vibrancy and density. So, there's a lot of points here, and obviously I don't want to take up too much time, but I think that it'd be very important to make it more attractive, to get more businesses, in that food, beverage, nightlife realm, to create that energy back downtown, because it was a very thriving district only a few years ago. And I do remember in 2019, we were having this conversation as downtown was sort of hitting a pretty serious lull at that point. And in between, the riots, the boarding up, and the COVID, and where we are now, there certainly needs to be a lot of horsepower. And I can say that myself and 1 or 2 other people are willing to dive in there and really take some risk and put our effort and investment into the downtown. But there's got to be some kind of, and this is very vague right now, but there's got to be some reason for us to do so without just kind of, taking shots in the dark there. So that's really all I got. I really appreciate you letting me speak and for reaching out, and appreciate you guys' effort in turning your attention to this.
Thank you, John, for joining us. Next, we have David Meeker.
Thanks so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, David.
Okay. Thanks for listening and for caring so much about downtown. I'm calling in support of 2 things you've already done that have worked great, and we're hoping you will continue. The first one is parklets. When you first made it easier to have a parklet, they were a lifeline to some of our small businesses, some of them the only sales they were doing. Now that these businesses are mostly open indoors, you've really lowered their effective rent rate because they have space outdoors that they don't have to pay for. So you're really helping the small business directly. They're also great marketing for the business and great marketing for downtown. So the request would be for you to continue to allow them and make it easier for other folks to do them as well in the future. The second one is about the downtown restaurant employee parking program. That's been a great equity safety play for our service workers, saved them money, and it's also been much safer for them than walking several blocks late at night. I realize y'all have to balance more things than just service workers, like the parking budget, but the request would be to extend it as long as you can, as long as there's space in the parking decks, as some workers will only come down 2 or 3 days a week instead of 5 days like they used to. That's all I have. Really appreciate y'all doing this and caring so much about downtown.
David, thanks for everything you do, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks.
Okay, next we have Pam Blondin.
Hello, I hope you can hear me. I'm Pam Blondin. I own Deco Raleigh on South Salisbury Street, and I live in Oakwood. David set me up perfectly. I'm going to go in a slightly different direction here because I knew there would be a ton of callers with great ideas. We have no shortage of great ideas in Raleigh. This year has forced us to see our cityscape differently, and I do hope that you as our city leaders continue to support creative uses of space. Today, I want to just make a few remarks about how these projects get done, especially thinking about how we can maximize the talent that we have on our city staff. My key point is that city staff really want to help, but in my experience, public-private efforts to implement big ideas can only succeed when the staff are empowered to be full partners with community members. I want to give you a couple quick examples. 6 years ago, I helped create and fund Raleigh's first parklet. We got support from many helpful city staff, but we, the volunteers or the citizens, organized the meetings, and nobody from the city really was given full ownership of the experiment. I've had annual discussions with various staff leaders, but they don't have the authority to move the needle. They give me great ideas, but they can't really get anything done. Consequently, this experiment lost its value to the city for lack of clear ownership. Conversely, when we proposed a sidewalk mural, which was going to be the first one in the city, it was clear who owned it, and that was the city's art staff. They enthusiastically gathered the right people to look at safety permitting, etc. They owned the project, they shepherded it, they were vested in its success, they learned from the experience, and they set up processes for future replication. And now we have sidewalk murals all over the city. I worked just as hard on both projects. The difference was, from my perspective, was that someone from city staff with a vested interest and proper authority acted as my partner. The other point I want to make here is that sometimes staff, in my experience, find themselves unwittingly discouraging good ideas simply by doing their jobs. For example, if the parking department's priority is to generate income from parking spaces, then giving up spaces for parklets and pedlets is inconsistent with their department goals, even if it's aligned with another department's goals. And by the way, that's not picking on the parking people, they're terrific. I just wanted to give a really clear example of sort of conflict in trying to work together. So my three major points here, or recommendations or suggestions to our new city manager, are to think about as we roll out or continue to roll out these ideas, assign and centralize ownership and authority to city staff who have a vested interest in these projects as a model for the future. So whether it's parklets or pedlets or anything, having 47 people who have to weigh in on a little piece of it doesn't give anybody the ownership to keep moving it forward. Make these projects a priority for the city, even if it means that some departments may have to adjust their own goals. So if, for example, parklets and pedlets are a higher priority, then the parking folks should be rewarded for helping to make those happen. And finally, in my experience, the follow-up and the assessment is really important. I encourage us to not just let things be built and things be done and then they sit until somebody complains because they don't like the way it looks. So thinking about how we're going to assess the success or not of these things, I think will be really important. In summary, we have talent on the staff and in the city to be truly visionary about our city's streetscape. And I want to advocate for having an infrastructure that supports and encourages that innovation and a strong, balanced private-public partnership. Thanks for letting me say my piece.
Thanks, Pam. And I'm really happy to see that Deco has reopened and the floor is beautiful. It looks terrific.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you back. And thanks for stopping in today. Next, we have Pamela Gardner.
Rhonda Brown.
Beth, is Pamela on the call?
No, ma'am, she is not on the call. The next participant you have is Shakonda Brown.
Oh, hello. Hi, can you
Shakonda?
hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Hi, Mayor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm new to the area.
Well,
I just-
welcome.
Thank you. I mean, I like the scenery as a little bit out of scene. I don't have a car, so I don't go out much. But I was just thinking about the downtown area. Like, I was just wondering. I mean, this is like my suggestion. Y'all talking about bringing more people in. See, I came from San Diego, so it's totally different. They have the outlet malls, they have movie theaters, they have McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's. You know, everybody, all you see is people throughout the downtown area, just walking around, enjoying themselves. You know, I like to sit out on the outside, like the restaurant, sit out and just watch the people walking to different stores, business. They got grocery stores. I mean, if you guys want to bring some people, that's the way to go. Bring in grocery stores, bring in restaurants. You know, Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A. I can't think of the other restaurant that people like to see, but it's like the coffee place. Because I really don't drink coffee, but the Greens. I can't think of what's the name of that place. But you know, if you want to see that, I think that will be an opportunity for people to come and visit. It'll be like a site. Like I just like to go around, go downtown and just sightsee. You know, boutiques. I don't know, outlet shopping centers, things of that nature. So that's like kind of my suggestion.
Okay.
You
Well,
know.
thank you so much, Shakonda, for being with us today, and welcome to Raleigh.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Do we have Rebecca Grimes on the phone?
No, Mayor, she is not.
Okay, and what about Mary Jo Gellenbeck?
Do have Mary Jo.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Baldwin, and all that have made this opportunity for the listening session. I wanted to share that I learned about today's listening session on the morning CBS 17 News, and I used their website to find the link to sign up. And I also appreciated the same day sign up feature. So that really enabled me to participate in this. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Mr. King for his presentation. It was really empowering to see those stats, but especially for him identifying the value of foot traffic as high spenders. And so I am here to talk about more infrastructure for the active transportation users. And I have a couple of suggestions and ideas. I'm hoping that these ideas will not only increase safety, so people who are coming to downtown and visiting, walking about, will complement the other safety features that were listed on the call. As a side note, I do want to share that this weekend I was in downtown Raleigh for Mother's Day, and I really enjoyed Moore Square. I used the crosswalk on Blunt Street that is mid-block. It feeds right over to Go Raleigh station, as well as the restaurants there. And I noticed that the Blunt vehicle traffic was ignoring the pedestrians waiting to use the crosswalk. So I proceeded to enter into the crosswalk to test the traffic, the vehicle traffic. And I have to say that the Amazon truck driver was not paying attention, that he missed my body by 6 feet. I stopped because I was kind of testing the waters. And so that pedestrian crosswalk is beautiful. I love that feature, but there is still a high need for increasing visibility and security for active transportation. So here I go. I would, if we could, lower the speed limits in downtown Raleigh. And I'm proposing something pretty radical, but it would match the top speed of the Citric Cycle bike, and that is about 15 miles per hour. If we were able to reduce the traffic speed, we can increase the driver's ability for their peripheral vision, for them to be able to stop in advance in enough time so that they can reduce conflict points. So that is one thing that I really hope the city can kind of explore with the state and see if that's possible. I also want to suggest that the city host introduction to Citric Cycle, a kind of an adult learning bike education or just a reintroduction to bike riding. I think the Citric Cycle is a huge success. I love that the annual membership fee of $85 essentially makes it 25 cents a day. Access Pass that they just recently launched, a $10 annual membership for people who in need or low income, superb. But people aren't really used to riding those bikes. And so if City Parks was able to host these learning sessions, which I'm happy to volunteer, lead, if we were to host them on Dix Park, people could drive to Dix Park, kind of get their sea legs again for cycling, and then add like an adventure to it. So instead of driving to downtown, they access it through this fun experience of riding downtown, exploring the foot traffic, encouraging or increasing the spending, spontaneous spending, and then cycle back. So we are creating local tourism using something that's already in place. And I do commend the council members for your investment in additional stations and the infrastructure for walking. I'm a huge fan of Downtown Raleigh Alliance's ambassador program. When I worked at Holly and Stitch, they came in and introduced themselves. And when visitors came into the store, I shared with them about the blue shirt ambassadors out there to help them with any needs they have. So I'm a big fan of it. I think it's also great to have somebody who's not a police officer that is also boasting safety in our city. I do want to encourage more bicycle parking for e-bikes. E-bikes are on the rise. I'm participating with Oaks and Spokes event this weekend to introduce the e-bike owners are meeting in one spot for other people to come and see these bikes up close and get a sense for them. But this problem with e-bikes, of course, is their value. They're easy to steal. And so there are a lot of great products out there that have a secure storage. And I would gladly pay for securing my bike when I use it to come downtown. So please explore that possibility. I love the parklets. I do want to encourage you to think about eliminating reducing the car parking on the street, especially at intersection corners, to increase visibility. And maybe that space could be used for scooter parking as well as bicycle parking. There's a great example, Hoboken, New Jersey has featured that, and they have reduced conflict points. And don't quote me, but I think that they have 0 deaths from car crash accidents. So check out Hoboken, New Jersey research on what they've done at their intersections. And last but not least, if we could, I'd like to eliminate jaywalking violations in the city. Jaywalking is used, people of color are 3 to 5 times more likely to be cited for jaywalking. And that is just something that I think that is important for us to recognize, that this jaywalking is not really increasing safety of pedestrians. It's safer to cross mid-block than it is at intersections where car drivers are thinking about trying to beat the light, turning right on red. They are looking at where they're going and not looking for the pedestrian or light vehicle traffic. So I don't know if that's possible, but I sure did want to say it. I think I'm done. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you listening.
Mary Jo, thanks for coming, and we appreciate your enthusiasm. I love the idea of the introduction to Citric Cycle, and you might have been volunteering, but now you might be voluntold. So we'll be back in touch on that. So thank you.
Yeah, count me in. Thanks.
Okay. Beth, did we have any additional people get back on the line?
Not everybody else get on the line, but G Patel is on here if you'd like to hear from.
Okay.
Good afternoon. How's everyone?
Good, G. How are you?
I'm great. My name is Chi Patel. I've been a resident of Raleigh, North Carolina, reside on Ebenezer Church Road. Been here for almost 20 years. First, I like to say, it's always easy to point a finger. But I truly want to say thank you to the council and Mayor Baldwin for your leadership. Obviously, it was a tough year through the pandemic and all the various things that we've gone through. I do believe we have a bright future ahead. And Bill, thank you for presenting all those numbers that really kind of shed some light and gave me more insight. So I look forward to hopefully connecting with you off-site. Frankly, Fateful Street has been a home to me probably since 2007. I really got my start here practicing my entrepreneurship skills from NC State. And I've spent a lot of time downtown. Even through a pandemic, I would say I spent 95% of my days on Fateful Street. At times it was depressing. There were a lot of things going on, and we knew that was the case. But I think even previously to this, prior to the pandemic, Fateful Street just holds a dear place in my heart. I feel like it was a good nucleus for me and the city when it came about. So I would like to probably a lot of the questions have been answered, so I'm not going to go into the insights that I want to provide. I'll get with Bill and speak with him offline. But there are a couple of things I would like to note on that a lot of the other individuals on this call spoke about, and it's regarding the parklets. I think that one of the things that we really have to understand is the human psychology aspect of what this pandemic is going to do or has done, and really making this parklet component permanent much as possible, but also making it more of a program that's supported financially through the city, so that way city has a stake in it, and making it more cohesive, so therefore it creates again, I think we talk about branding and what does the city really feel like. So having a cohesive appeal to these parklets will allow us to, I think, elongate the life cycle of it. Another aspect we did speak on also is the grant program. I think the grant program is great. Having working with other municipalities throughout North Carolina, I have foresight on kind of what they're offering, how things are going. I don't think anybody's looking for a free handout, but I think with the grant program, it would be more appropriate to really evaluate on how it can make the most impact. I think it's tremendous that we're able to help 97 individuals, but what if we reduce that down to 10, and where the DRA really needs to focus, again, being on Fateful Street, what could that look like, and what kind of revenue could that generate, and what kind of voids that could really fill, would be interesting to see. Being involved as I am with real estate and other endeavors, and this is more of a request, is honestly access to city staff. I know that everybody is dealing with the changes and we're adapting to it, but it has been excruciatingly painful to have access to the city staff, especially when individuals like me who are pro-growth and want to help, Raleigh flourish, not having access, and more than anything, there's really no accountability or promptness when providing responses. It just gets really irritating, and it's obviously gets costly. So anything that can be done on that. But with all that being said, I do believe that, great times ahead. I think we have, again, a lot of great press for Raleigh itself, so no need to repeating that. But thank you, Mayor Baldwin and Council and Mr. King for this lovely presentation. I appreciate you guys allowing me to speak, even though I know I registered last night. I think I texted you. It's like, I'm on. So thank you guys so much for making this exception.
Thank you, G, for joining us. There were two people who also sent me a message before the meeting saying they couldn't be on due to work commitments, but some of the suggestions from them, one said community policing, getting police back on the streets, walking the beat, getting to know business owners and residents. He felt that would be really important moving forward. Also mentioned was small business grants, continuing that specifically to help restaurants and retail locate, like use the public realm. So if somebody wanted to build a parklet or expand dining service on sidewalks, having a grant program to help support that. The other issue mentioned was transportation options, like potentially shuttles or taxis coming into downtown. I think Jim Mitchell had mentioned something similar early on. Return of the R line, dog-friendly spaces. Again, getting back to what you said, Bill, about feet on the streets, you know, that will bring people out, this person said, you know, walking their dogs and being outside. And then, as Mary Jo had mentioned, traffic calming on major corridors. So those were some of the specific ideas that were brought forward. So I just wanted to mention them and thank Chris Motus and also Parker Kennedy for providing that information. So now we heard a lot. Great report, Bill. Now we need to have a plan for follow-up, City Manager. So first thing I think we need to do is have Bill come back, like I mentioned in June, discuss the public realms study. And then our staff heard a lot from what the public had mentioned, our residents and business owners. I think it would be beneficial for them to get together, different facets, transportation, planning, economic development, and come up with some plans on ways that we can act on some of these ideas, and then also talk with Bill on that. So I think just the follow-up and then coming back to us with these are the steps we're going to take would be very helpful. Does anybody on council have any other comments, suggestions, ideas, concerns that they would like to share? Councilmember Branch.
Yeah, I just want us to be cautious and make sure that as we open downtown back up, that we also learn from past experiences, some of the challenges and things that we had around noise and doorways and things of that nature, that we keep that in mind so that we don't have to go back and address those matters again. So if we keep those in the forefront in the beginning, I think it'll help us make a very cohesive plan as we move forward.
Yeah, one thing I keep hearing from many restaurant owners is that people are now coming in earlier and leaving earlier. And they're like, that's not a bad thing. Our staff gets to leave early, we get to leave earlier. But, you know, we'll see, the pandemic may have shifted people's, some of people's habits. So I guess we'll be seeing that. And let's see, Councilmember Melton had his hand raised.
This is a topic I care about a lot. I've talked to Bill a lot offline about it, and I really wanted to absorb the information today. But with just remarks, I wanted to say, Bill said something that I think is really important, that we don't have to come back the same way we were before. I think that it should be our goal not to come back the same way we were before. We're hearing about a lot of things that maybe we should have paid attention to before. And I really think we can use this pandemic also as a catalyst to be better about how we're using our public spaces. And also, you know, Fayetteville Street, I will just say it, I'm down here a lot. Fayetteville Street was struggling before COVID. You could walk down Fayetteville Street on a Saturday before COVID and not see one other person on the street. And that was a problem. And COVID made it worse. And so let's use this as a catalyst to rethink how we are approaching downtown. And downtown is not just Fayetteville Street. We have a lot of neighborhoods downtown that I think are doing really well. Fayetteville Street needs some help. So the other piece I heard is that making sure staff feels empowered. And so I hope we can send a message as council that we want innovative, creative, forward-thinking ideas. You've got an idea, bring it to us. We are all ears. And I think that should be the message to Bill, to staff, to the residents and the business community, because I really think we are well positioned to emerge from this really strong.
Yes, I do not disagree with that. And, you know, I was thinking about this, and now that you've brought it up, Councilor Melton, you know, we do the Employee Big Idea Award on a monthly basis. What if we kind of opened that up and looked at an Employee Big Idea Award for downtown? Let them get their creative juices flowing. And, you know, if there's more than one, if there's several, we still have some council contingency funding that we could use to make some awards. So I just want great ideas. And I think if, you know, if we can incentivize the staff to bring some of those forward, and let's make June, say the month where we award these, I think that would be kind of fun and a fun way to recognize staff, reward staff, but also generate some big ideas. Everybody okay with that? Do we have? Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, if there are no other comments or concerns, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. We all good? Okay. Everyone have a great evening and be safe out there. Thanks for being here.